Marcus Chen died 3 weeks before his body was found. The strange part: the security system knew it the entire time. Marcus worked the night shift at Meridian Analytics, a mid-level tech firm in Portland. Nothing glamorous. His job was simple: process data, maintain the servers, go home. He'd worked there for 7 years without incident. Nobody knew him well. Nobody really knew him at all. The building had state-of-the-art security. Biometric locks on every door. Fingerprint scanners. Retinal readers. The works. After hours, only authorized personnel could move through certain areas. Marcus's credentials were clearance level 4, high enough to access the server room, the archives, the restricted floors. On March 14th, something changed in the system logs. Security manager David Walsh noticed it during routine maintenance. Marcus's fingerprints appeared at 2:47 a.m. on March 14th, swiping into the server room. Then again at 3:15 a.m. Then 4:22 a.m. Unusual timing, but not impossible. Night shift employees sometimes worked odd hours. But here's what made Walsh's skin crawl. Marcus had called in sick that day. His voicemail had come in at 6 p.m. the previous evening. He wasn't supposed to be in the building. Walsh pulled the security footage. All 4 cameras pointing at the server room entrance showed nothing. No Marcus. No one. Just empty hallways and locked doors that somehow registered his fingerprints opening them. Walsh checked Marcus's home address. Found him 3 days later, sitting in his apartment. Dead in his office chair, mummified by decomposition. The medical examiner estimated he'd been dead for at least 5 days. Possibly longer. That meant his fingerprints were being read by the security system for days after he died. The investigation spiraled. Detectives wanted answers. The fingerprint scanner manufacturer sent engineers. They found nothing wrong with the equipment. The sensors worked perfectly. The logs were pristine. There were no signs of tampering, no hacking attempts, no glitches in the biometric software. Marcus's fingerprints simply continued to open doors he could never walk through again. But here's what the official report never mentioned, because the detectives never found it. The scanner had logged something else that night. Something impossible. In the raw data, buried beneath 17 levels of encryption, the scanner had registered a second set of fingerprints. Someone entering right behind Marcus. Someone the cameras never saw. Someone who swiped the same doors, followed the same path, went to the same server room. The fingerprints matched no one in the system. No employee, no contractor, no one on any database. The manufacturer deleted that data, called it a glitch, a corruption in the logs. But 3 weeks after Marcus died, another employee reported the same thing. Their fingerprints registering at times they weren't in the building. The company installed new scanners, wiped the old ones clean. The incident stopped. But every night when the building goes dark, the security logs show something moving through those halls. Something that knows how to open every door. Something that leaves fingerprints that don't belong to anyone alive. And it's still learning.
Dr. Marcus Chen made a mistake during surgery, and it killed his patient. But what happened next made him wish he'd never picked up a scalpel again. It was 2019 when Dr. Chen performed emergency surgery on a 34-year-old man named David Morrison. The appendectomy should have been routine. 15 minutes in, something went catastrophically wrong. Marcus nicked an artery. He tried to repair it. He couldn't. David hemorrhaged on the table. The autopsy was standard procedure. Marcus attended, as he always did. He needed to understand what happened, to learn from his failure. But when Dr. Patricia Reeves, the medical examiner, made the first incision, Marcus saw something impossible. David's organs were already scarred. His liver showed decades of damage. His kidneys were failing. His heart had healed fractures that should have killed him years ago. Patricia looked up from the body with confusion in her eyes. "This man," she said slowly, "shouldn't have survived past 30. But that wasn't the strangest part. Over the next week, Marcus reviewed David's medical history. Birth records showed he was 34. His driver's license matched. But his x-rays told a different story. They showed the wear and tear of someone in their 70s. His dental records showed fillings from the 1950s, despite the patient being born in 1985. Marcus became obsessed. He requested the original pathology slides from David's autopsy. When the lab sent them over, he examined them under the microscope for hours. The tissue samples were labeled correctly. The date of death was correct. But the cellular degradation was wrong. The cells showed signs of aging that matched someone who'd been dead for nearly 50 years. Then, the second body showed up. Another patient of Marcus's died during a routine procedure 2 weeks later. This time he hadn't made a mistake. The woman had a blood clot nobody could have predicted. But the autopsy revealed the same impossible signs. A 28-year-old woman with organs that looked 90 years old. Medical records that contradicted each other. Cellular samples that showed decomposition patterns inconsistent with the time of death. Marcus went to the hospital administration. They reviewed his cases. They found nothing unusual. They suggested he was experiencing grief-induced paranoia. They recommended counseling. But Marcus kept digging. He accessed the autopsy records for every patient who died during surgery in the hospital over the past 5 years. 43 bodies. He studied them all. 37 of them showed the same impossible contradictions. Bodies that aged wrong. Medical histories that didn't match. Tissue samples that were older than the patients themselves. He called Patricia Reeves at home late one night. "The samples," he said. "The pathology slides. Are they stored correctly?" "They're in the freezer, Marcus, where they always are. I need you to look at something." He drove to the medical examiner's office at midnight. Patricia let him in, concerned but cooperative. Together, they pulled the tissue samples from the freezer. Marcus examined them under the microscope, this time with Patricia watching. "This is from David Morrison," he said, pointing. "Look at the cellular degradation. This shows signs of exposure to extreme cold, multiple times. Freezing and thawing over and over." Patricia's face went pale. "That's not possible," she whispered. "These samples have been frozen continuously since the autopsy." They checked the freezer's temperature logs. The machine had been working perfectly. The logs showed no fluctuations. But the samples told a different story. Marcus never went back to surgery. He took a leave of absence and spent months investigating. He cross-referenced death records, medical histories, pathology reports. He found patterns. Every death he'd studied had happened in his hospital. Every autopsy had been performed by one of 3 medical examiners. Every body had shown those impossible signs of aging. When he tried to access more records, his hospital credentials were revoked. When he went to the police, they told him there was nothing to investigate. When he approached the state medical board, they informed him that discussing patient autopsy results outside of official channels was a violation of privacy laws. The final piece came when Marcus received an unmarked envelope at his apartment. Inside was a single photograph. It showed the hospital morgue. On the metal table lay a body. Marcus recognized the face immediately. It was his own. The timestamp on the photo was dated 3 days in the future. Marcus moved to another state. He never performed surgery again. He took a job in a clinic, treating minor injuries, writing prescriptions. He tried to forget what he discovered. But sometimes he receives letters. They come from hospitals across the country. Each one contains an autopsy report. Each report shows those same impossible signs. Bodies that aged wrong. medical histories that don't match, tissue samples that shouldn't exist. Last month, a letter arrived with no hospital letterhead. It contained one sentence: "Your second opinion is needed." And attached was a recent photograph of a surgical suite. Standing over the operating table was Marcus, dressed in scrubs he didn't own, performing surgery on a patient he'd never seen, in a hospital he'd never visited. The photograph was dated yesterday. Dr. Samuel Chen noticed something odd about Memorial Hospital's basement incinerator. It was processing bodies faster than the morgue was receiving them. In 1997, Dr. Chen worked nights in the pathology department at Memorial Hospital in Portland, Oregon. One evening, while filing autopsy reports, he heard the industrial incinerator rumbling beneath the building. It ran constantly, every night, for hours. Curious, he checked the death records. On average, maybe 4 patients died per night. The incinerator ran like it was burning 10 times that amount. He mentioned it to Marcus, the night custodian, while restocking the morgue. Marcus went pale. He warned Chen not to ask questions about the basement. Not to go down there. Not ever. But Chen was a meticulous man. Details bothered him. He accessed the hospital's maintenance logs. The incinerator had been installed in 1952. During a 6-month period when the hospital's official death records showed 0 fatalities. Not one. Yet, the incinerator ran constantly during those months. Chen found older records in the archive. From 1952 to 1955, something had changed. Patient intake numbers didn't match discharge numbers. Roughly 200 people entered the hospital those 3 years who never checked out. No death certificates. No transfers. Nothing. When he asked the hospital administrator about the discrepancy, she told him the records were corrupted. A water leak had destroyed files from that era. Nothing could be verified. That night, Chen heard footsteps outside his office. When he opened the door, Marcus was there, genuinely terrified. "You need to stop," Marcus whispered. "The people who run the incinerator, they're still here. Still working." "What do you mean, still here?" "I mean they never left. They clocked in during the day shift in 1952, went down to the incinerator room, and never came back up. But the incinerator kept running. Every single day for 45 years. Chen didn't believe him, but he was unnerved enough to stop asking questions. He requested a transfer to day shift. It was approved immediately. 2 weeks later, Marcus didn't show up for his shift. He wasn't sick. He didn't quit. He simply vanished. His time card was punched, in and out, but security footage from that night showed Marcus never arriving. A month later, Chen decided to leave the hospital entirely. Before he did, he made copies of those 1952 records. He wanted proof something was wrong. The night before his last shift, someone broke into his apartment. They didn't steal anything. They didn't hurt him. They simply left a single item on his kitchen table. His hospital ID badge melted into a warped, unrecognizable shape. Chen quit the next morning. In 2003, 6 years later, he received an anonymous letter. Inside was a photograph. It showed the basement incinerator room. Standing in front of the massive furnace were 5 figures. Their faces were blurred, but their work uniforms were visible. They matched the style from 1952. The letter contained no message, just the photo. Chen checked his local news that week. Memorial Hospital was closing, permanently. The reason given was structural failure in the basement. No further details were provided. The building was demolished 2 months later. When Samuel Chen died in 2019, the medical examiner noted something strange in his autopsy report. Something they couldn't explain. His lungs contained trace amounts of ash. Not from smoking. Not from any disease. The ash was consistent with industrial incinerators from the 1950s. The pathologist wrote, "Cause of death, undetermined." The maintenance worker found him on a Tuesday morning, wedged inside the snack dispenser like a twisted pretzel, but he'd been dead for 3 days. His name was Marcus Chen, and he worked the night shift at Westfield Hospital. Nobody remembers exactly when he stopped showing up, because the time cards kept punching his name in. Every shift, right on schedule, for 72 hours after he was discovered. The vending machine was on the 4th floor, in the break room. Standard issue. Doritos, peanuts, candy bars. Except the glass had fogged over sometime between Monday evening and Tuesday morning. When maintenance finally opened it, Marcus tumbled out with his limbs bent at angles that would have snapped bones if he'd been alive to feel it. The hospital's initial statement called it an accident. A freak incident. They said Marcus had been trying to retrieve something that got stuck, fell inside, and suffocated. But the medical examiner found something that made the police take a different approach. His lungs weren't filled with anything. His mouth and nose were perfectly clear. There was no sign of struggle, and his stomach was full of coins. Quarters, dimes, nickels, pennies. Approximately $47.38 worth, all slowly dissolving in his gastric acids. The vending machine company sent their own technician. He reported that the machine had dispensed exactly $47.38 worth of product in the 3 days after Marcus died. 531 individual transactions recorded on the internal log. But the machine had been locked. The break room had been locked. The only person with access was the night custodian, and she worked mornings. The police pulled the security footage. The camera above the break room went dead at 11:47 p.m. on Monday. When it came back online at 6:15 a.m. on Tuesday, it showed the break room empty. No Marcus. No disturbance. The machine sat there like it always did. But here's what the autopsy revealed. The coins in Marcus's stomach were dated differently. Some were from 1987, some from 2003, some from yesterday. The pathologist said it was impossible. The coins couldn't have survived in that condition. They should have been corroded, tarnished, destroyed. Instead, they were pristine. The hospital fired the night custodian anyway. They had to. 3 more employees called in sick after seeing the maintenance report. The vending machine was removed and destroyed. The break room was renovated. They repainted it, replaced the floor, everything. But 6 months later, another employee died. This time in the stairwell. His time card showed he'd been working. His badge had swiped in and out of his department that entire shift. But he was dead on the landing between floors 3 and 4, his pockets full of vending machine receipts from dates that hadn't happened yet. The hospital installed a new break room vending machine. It's still there, still working, still taking payments, and the maintenance logs show it's being restocked every single night by someone who never clocks out. Marcus Chen had worked the night shift at Riverside Hospital for 17 years. He never called in sick. He never took vacations. And he always clocked out at exactly 6:47 a.m. Until the morning they found him dead in the supply closet, 3 hours after he'd already left. It started like any other night in November. Marcus pushed his cart down the 3rd floor corridor, emptying trash bins and mopping the hallway tiles. The hospital was quiet, the way he liked it. Just the hum of machines and the occasional beep of a monitor. At 6:30 a.m., he wheeled his cart toward the employee break room to grab his time card from the punch clock. That's when he saw himself. Marcus stopped dead. Standing at the punch clock, inserting a time card, was Marcus. Same uniform. Same tired posture. Same distinctive scar above the left eyebrow. For a moment, Marcus thought he was hallucinating. Maybe the night shift was finally getting to him. But the other Marcus pulled the card out and turned around, and when their eyes met, the doppelganger's face went slack with shock. They stared at each other across the break room. Neither moved. Then, the other Marcus ran. Marcus gave chase, following him down the corridor, around corners, toward the back stairs. But every time he turned a corner, the figure was already gone. By the time Marcus made it to the basement, he'd lost him completely. Shaken, Marcus went back upstairs and punched his time card himself at 6:47 a.m. The timestamp printed clean and clear. When he got home and tried to call the hospital an hour later, his wife told him to stop pranking her. "You've been in the shower for 20 minutes, she said. "You literally just got home." Marcus hung up and checked the bathroom. Water was running. Steam leaked from under the door. He opened it. The shower was empty. No one was there. But wet footprints led from the bathroom to the bedroom, where his work uniform lay crumpled on the floor. That afternoon, Marcus returned to the hospital. He needed answers. When he arrived for his shift, the security guard looked confused. "Marcus, you just left an hour ago? I saw you walking out the front entrance." "No, I didn't," Marcus said. "I've been home all day." The guard checked the surveillance footage. It showed Marcus leaving at 6:47 a.m., exactly as logged. Except, there was something wrong with the footage. Marcus was walking too stiffly, too mechanically. His movements weren't quite right. Marcus asked to see the personnel files. When he pulled his own record, his hands went cold. Next to his name was a single note, dated from 3 weeks ago. "Case shift reassignment pending termination of current assignment." "Aye," he called out to his supervisor. "What does this mean?" The supervisor squinted at the file. "I don't know what you're reading, Marcus. Your file's clean. No notes." When Marcus looked back at the paper, the line was gone. That night, things accelerated. Marcus clocked in at 11 p.m. for his shift. But all night, he kept seeing glimpses of himself in reflective surfaces. The break room window, the polished steel of the elevator doors, the darkened computer screens. Each time, the other Marcus looked more solid, more real. By 5 a.m., Marcus was terrified. He went to the HR office and demanded they explain what was happening. The HR director, Ms. Patterson, looked at him with an expression between confusion and pity. "Marcus, I'm going to be honest with you. We ran a background check on you 3 weeks ago. The results came back unusual. We decided to run a trial period to see if everything checked out." "What kind of trial?" Marcus whispered. "We brought someone else in. Someone exactly like you, to see which version was the real employee we wanted to keep." The clock on her wall showed 6:45 a.m. "Your shift ends in 2 minutes, Miss Patterson said quietly. I'd punch out if I were you." Marcus ran out. He ran down the stairs, through the corridors, past confused staff members. He could feel something chasing him, not seeing it, but feeling its presence growing closer. He burst through the side exit and out into the parking lot. When he reached his car, Marcus realized he couldn't find his keys. He patted every pocket. Nothing. Nothing. He turned to run back toward the street, and that's when he saw the other Marcus emerge from the hospital entrance, walking toward him with steady mechanical steps. They locked eyes across the asphalt. The other Marcus raised his hand, and in it was a time card. He inserted it into an invisible clock and pulled it out. A timestamp appeared in the air, 6:47 a.m. Marcus never made it home that morning. When the night shift ended, the time clock recorded only one employee clocking out at 6:47 a.m. The security footage showed one man, walking steadily toward the exit. The shift log showed no discrepancies. And at Riverside Hospital, everything continued perfectly, as normal. 3 weeks later, HR started interviewing candidates for the night maintenance position. They were looking for someone very specific, someone who could work without question, without variation, without the unpredictability of actual human consciousness. They were still looking for the second one, actually. The first Marcus had worked out perfectly.
Immediately. That supervisor never came back. The men in suits found Marcus 3 days later. He was in the employee break room on level B1, sitting at a table with a cold cup of coffee in front of him. His badge was on the table. His hand was on the badge. He'd been there for approximately 72 hours, according to the decomposition. But there was something else. His face was facing the wrong direction. Not turned. Rotated. His neck wasn't broken. Medical examiners couldn't explain it. It was as if his head had simply spun around like a mechanism, and then his body had continued to exist that way, completely at peace with the wrongness of it. The security footage from that same period was corrupted. All of it. Every camera on every level from midnight to 6 a.m. 3 days worth of data, just gone. Rita noticed something else in the days that followed. The basement door was still there. Still impossible. Still locked. But now there were 4 badge readers on it instead of 1. 4 separate systems, all requiring different credentials. And every night she could hear it from upstairs in the lobby. The sound of the badge reader accepting a scan. Over and over. Every few hours. Accepting something that shouldn't have a valid badge anymore. Accepting something that was still clocking in. They found Marcus's personal effects in a locker that week. His jacket, his thermos, his wallet. Everything except his badge. The badge, according to the access logs, was still being used. Still punching in every night at 11:47 p.m. Still clocking in from level B2.